Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alien's Joy today, to this episode. I am glad to be here. I hope you're watching either on Roku, Amazon, or Amazon Fire, Apple TV. Did I get that right? Or if you're watching on one of these channels, I'm glad that you are joining me today. And you might be listening to the podcast Alien's Joy. We are on several podcast platforms as well. So I'm glad to be here today. I do not have a guest this weekend because it is a holiday weekend. And I just decided to leave everybody in their holiday modus and just babble a little bit myself about anxiety and stress today. I love those topics. I talk about it a lot. And as a life coach, it is one of the things that I help my clients with. And we do that through different tools and different subjects. And today I'm going to do a little bit about a thought process for journaling. Anxiety and stress both are these things that are interwoven, right? And also separate. So if we're talking about stress and anxiety, I want to share this with you. If we're talking about stress, of course, they are interchangeable, but they're also separate and they have separate things. So if we're talking about stress alone, then here are some things that we want to take into consideration. Stress is usually just triggered, as I say a lot, by external factors and by daily life, right? It might be deadlines, it might be financial problems, relationship issues, something even that happens on television that you get stressed out about, something that happens in your family or with your friends that might cause you to just really be upset and be worried about it. So stress is just really a response to a situation or to an event, to stresses that are caused to you, right? They're not really there. They weren't really inside, that might not be there this morning, and then all of a sudden you're watching something or you hear something and you get stressed out about it. The duration of stress is usually short term, and it also resolves once the stressor is removed. So if I tell myself not to watch the news in the morning because that's better for me, it's healthy, I don't get stressed out over things that I can't really change, then one of the things that I can do for myself is just to remove that stressor, and then it's managed, right? So there's no things that are there are no things that are causing me to be stressed out. Emotional symptoms usually, right? You might be irritable, you might feel frustration, you might have mood swings when things are happening around you that you can't control. And it's really difficult to to address that, but it goes away, like I said, when the stressor goes away. Now, and it can be also sometimes a little motivating, right? If it's an outside deadline, for instance, or you have an exam to do, or you have to prepare something in a certain time frame, right, for a deadline, then it might be motivational, right? It might be that anxiety or that stress, I should call it, that is motivating stress. I gotta get it done, and I'm really feeling stressed out about it, but it's also kind of like getting me into that prep mode where I just have to go on that adrenaline and just do it under pressure and handle the situation, right? It's a challenge sometimes, but it helps me sometimes getting things done. So that's also really important to understand, that stress might be sometimes a little motivational. Now, anxiety is different than stress, right? If we relate stress to the triggers outside us that sometimes we cannot control, then anxiety is something that is happening inside us. It's not always really an identifiable trigger. It can be a response to a perceived threat, to something that we think is going to happen, and it's not immediately present there. So anxiety is more of a mental health condition, right? It's characterized by excessive and prolonged worry. So you're constantly worried about things that might happen. There might not even be a real threat there, but you're worried about the things that might, what if, right? You're in the what if mode. And the duration can be long. So if you are suffering from anxiety, that it might be chronic, it might be just persistent, it might be there even after the original trigger has gone away, right? And maybe the situation has been resolved. but you're still feeling super, super stressed out about things, and you're really feeling that chronic anxiety settling in. You can't let go of the excessive worry. You're just thinking about what if, what if. So the physical symptoms of anxiety are just an increased heart rate, right? You feel your heart rate, you feel it really pumping. You have a shortness of breath sometimes. Sometimes we're dizzy and we're sweating. We're having the sweaty hand palms. We're having gastrointestinal issues. We have belly issues, right? We might be nauseated. We might be cold sometimes excessively. And mentally, we're still a little bit more in a mood. We might be irritable. We might be tired. So we might be thinking about negative things all the time. We get into that constant negative thinking. And that is not something that will help us, right? So we have these excessive worries, these fears. It's apprehensive, really a sort of an impending doom feeling. That is when you really feel that anxiety and the stress different, right? The stress is just something in a day that might happen, or a deadline that you have to live up to, right? You have to do something, but the anxiety stays even after you have done your work. So from there on, you're just constantly still worried, and you stay into that anxiety mode. So some of that we can help if you are able to realize it, right? We have to get into this mode that we know this is constantly going on, or maybe you have gone to the doctor for it, or maybe you're talking to a life coach like myself, and we can just say that if that is constantly there, let's work on what will cause it and how can we get rid of that chronic anxiety. And one of the things that I like to do beside meditation or exercise, right? I talk about that a lot, and I have done that a lot, is journaling as well. So if you're writing things down, if you have a little diary, if you're writing your feelings down, if you're really able to bring it from here on paper, sometimes that is really healthy. And I want to give you a couple of examples that you can do for yourself to get into that journaling. Write a couple of thoughts today. So I want to give you a couple of prompts to work with. And I work with those prompts as well if I work with my clients on anxiety and stress. So we are just in the first place looking at our life over the last few months when we are having that excessive worry, that excessive fear, when you're into that anxiety, that chronic anxiety, constant mode, then what can we do? And let's go work on it. And let's write down, in the first place, a couple of things that happened over the last couple of months. So let's contemplate that and sit on it and then write it down for me. So I will send my client home with that work for the week. In the first place, let's contemplate the life over the last few months, right? That's what we start with. So you can ask yourself a question that what has been the tone or the energy of your recent life? Has it been difficult? Has it been challenging? Has it been relationship-wise? Kind of troublesome? Has it been uh, because you have been going through big career changes, and challenging at work? So what has been the texture or the tone and the energy of the recent experience, the recent last couple of months? What has been the energy there? And how did you stand in there, right? You want to write about things that has happened to you. Are you passive in that situation? Did you take action already in that situation? So start writing about that. So have you been um, overreactive? Or have you been contemplating a lot? That you've been sitting on it? What have I done? I feel shame, maybe guilt over things that have happened. All these things you can write about. And if you write it down, you're kind of taking it out of your mind and you put it on paper. And that might be, in many cases, very, very healing. So you want to also kind of look back at the last few months and say, what is missing? What do I do? What could I have done different? Or what do I like to see different, right? What is missing if I'm not happy, if I'm constantly anxious? What is missing and what do I want to be? What could I have done different? And what do I want to be different? How do I want to see it going forwards? So also you can ask yourself, what are you not acknowledging in your life that needs to be brought to life? Is there something that you're sitting on and that you're not talking about? And that is also very interesting, because it happens a lot that we're just kind of keeping things inside that we're not talking about, we're not addressing, and they might be big cause of all that stress. So it is not really on the surface. You have to dig a little bit deeper. But what is it that is holding me back from creating happiness around me, creating that peace, right? We want to have a peaceful feeling. We want to have a peaceful soul. What is it that I'm not addressing? What do I need to bring to the light? And sometimes things become more and more and more, they start stacking up. So if I'm not talking about what I need to bring to the light, then I might hold some anger and some resistance, and I resentment, right? I'm resisting a certain situation, so I'm holding resentment. And if I hold that inside, it is definitely not healthy, right? Physically and emotionally, not healthy to hold things inside. So is there anything that needs to be brought to the light? So you can write about that. So again, we're looking at the last couple of months. We're going to look at, is there anything that I didn't address? Is there anything that I could do different? Is there anything that has been missing when it comes to my energy and my tone in it? What have I done the last couple of months? So, in other words, we need to take a really good look at ourselves to see what we're going through and if we are causing some of that ourselves. So one of the things I always tell my clients, we have a tendency of causing some harm to ourselves just to make it more difficult for ourselves. What can we do to make it easier? And if we start writing things down, then they become really great talking points, right? And you can discuss that maybe with somebody. You can reach out to me if I can help you. But if you want to make that great talking points, it helps if you journal first and if you write down what you're feeling and what you are experiencing. Let's go to a second point here that you can write about. So if you are thinking about what you have already learned, right? So let's think about some internal wisdom. What pearls of wisdom or what inspiration or what kind of yearnings and what kind of quotes speak to you? So if you're thinking about that, then it might be a quote that says, I would like to find a purpose in life, right? Or if you find the purpose in life, right? If that's the goal of your life, to find your purpose, that was always one of my favorite quotes. The goal of life is to find your purpose. And if you find your purpose, then you give it away, right? Your gift, they're talking about your gift, right? The goal of life is to see your own gift. And if you find that gift, you have to give it away. In other words, share it with others. Be generous about it, right? Don't hold back. So what is that for you? You can journal about that. What kind of quotes speak to you? And what have you done with these quotes? How does that resonate with you? Why is it that you are drawn to it, that you relate to it, or that you may even made it your own? Like I made that quote my own when I finally got to work on that and work on myself. And I went through that transformation. The quote helped me because I needed to find out what my purpose was. And that is another thing that so many of us do not really know. What is that gift? How can we pinpoint that gift? Where can we find that inside us? What are we good at? What do we love to do? What do we love to share with others? So think about that and try to journal about it, right? That is the next point. So the first point was contemplate the last couple of months and write about your life. The second one is, what are you drawn to? What are your quotes and wisdom nuggets? And what have you learned? And what are you doing with that? What resonates with you? And can we write about the why? Why are you drawn to it? Why does it resonate? And why does it have a meaning for you? Right? Do you live your life up to it? Do you do the same? Is it new for you? And would you like to change in a certain way? So write that down. It really, really helps to get to the point of what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, and where your anxiety is coming from. We want to get rid of anxiety, or at least diminish it a little bit, or at least make it a little bit easier, right? So we want to go through, in the first place, recognizing that we are suffering from anxiety and that things are a little bit difficult. Are they caused by the outside, or are we keeping things inside and we're getting more and more worried about things that sometimes are not even there yet. So if you write about a lot of things of what happens, or a lot of things that you would like to see or that you're drawn to, it helps establish our thoughts, trying to find out where all this is coming from, right? So now number 3, write out some quotes that speak to you, right? Write them for yourself again. Use them sometimes as little affirmations in the morning that I love to start with. And think about your why. If those affirmations or those quotes really are you're drawn to it, what is ultimately gonna be your gift, your purpose, your why? How can you come closer to that? So start writing down that you always wanted to be, or you always wanted to do, or you were hoping that you would get there, but you never did. Or maybe you think even you're in the wrong place when it comes to a job and you didn't do what your heart desired, right? So what is this all telling you specifically? Did you do something for others? Big point for me, right? Do I live up only to the expectation of others, or do I do things for myself? That is huge. I always say that's huge because we have to go back there, right? Are we only pleasing other people? Or are we doing wonderful things for ourselves to get through that anxiety, to be nice to ourselves, do a lot of journaling and wonderful things for ourselves so that we can find out what it is that holds us back from living our best life, right? What are these words? What are these affirmations? What are these quotes telling you about your gift? Why does it spark you and what does it tell you? And then write down some ideas that you can have about the future. If there's any changes to be made, what would you like to change? If it's small or big steps, it doesn't matter. Because as a coach, we always work on the small steps first and get to the big steps eventually. Absolutely. Right? We wanted to start slowly incorporating some changes maybe in our daily routine, or maybe in the things that we would like to see happen. So if that's the case, then we have to make some changes, because if it didn't happen yet, then obviously it didn't work for you. So we have to do some things different, and we can start with small steps. Sometimes it is our diet and our health and exercise, right? We have to start maybe with 2 or 3 classes a week instead of an everyday thing. Maybe it's just changing things in our pantry and in our fridge that can be easily replaced. So start small and just make all these things a new habit, right? Maybe you're gonna go walk a little bit, just eat a few different things. If you start taking care of yourself, you start feeling different, and then you start immediately latching on to making more small steps towards a bigger goal. So that's an easy thing to do. Now think about this last point here. We have a deep inner wisdom. You do. We all do. And so sometimes we just have to kind of really recognizing the truth and tell yourself that you weren't on the right path, and to admit that and to come to that acceptance phase of the things that have not working, the things didn't work for me lately. So what can I do wrong, or what can I do different, and what went wrong is always good to write about. Always. What message comes out of you writing? What message comes out of it? What does it tell you? Does it give you a good feeling of peace and happiness? Does it look different on paper? Sometimes when I write and I write it all out, oh my, just a couple of months ago, I was upset and I wrote something down, a long letter to self. I was journaling. And sometimes if you read it back, you're like, whoa, I was in a really, really bad state of mind. Because if I read it now, I almost feel sorry for the girl inside me that wrote that down. But at that moment, it was really necessary. And it was really helpful. I unloaded on paper. I unloaded. I wrote it all down. It was really helpful to get it out of my system. I remember how good it was. Now it almost looks weird to read back, but I was in that state of mind and it really helped me to release it. Yes, just like exercise helps you so much mentally and emotionally, right? If you're just getting busy with it. I always call that don't sit, but go do something. Don't take something. Don't go sit. It doesn't help if you sit and eat a bag of chips. Better just walk it off and go out if you're feeling stressed or anxious. So I hope this helps a little bit today. I hope you got some ideas about things that you can do and things that you can write down that will dig deeper, right? So think about the last couple of months, take a little bit of time of reflection. What was missing? What can we do different? What are we not acknowledging that we could have brought to the light? And now review a few quotes or wisdom nuggets inside yourself and ponder that. Why are you drawn to it? Write down why are you just getting a good feel with it, or is it something that you would like to do for yourself? Is it a quote that tells you to step up to the plate or do something different or realize something, right? So we come into that inner wisdom truth. What do we need to change to see a different outcome? Journaling with that helps, absolutely. I hope it helps you a little bit to step a little bit further into exploring, writing your feelings and your emotions down. They can all be in words. It's always good exercise that I use a lot as a coach to use different words for your emotions. And sometimes we have a tendency of using the same words over and over again. So then I will challenge you to start using different words or use an emotion wheel just to find out where you're at. I hope that this helps a little bit. I hope that you are getting an incentive to start writing things down and journal a little bit. If you do it every day and you wake up with it, or even if you write down some affirmations for yourself that you want to do the whole week, stick with it because that's the best thing. Make it a new habit. It will help you tremendously. And if you need help, reach out to me. I am a transformation coach. elianhaan.net, www.elianhaan.net. Reach out and make a complimentary appointment or get my free sheet with anxiety tips online. So you can just click on that and get your free gift, 10 tips for anxiety by me. So I hope you will reach out and I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching today.